Hey guys, how's it going? It's Ryan here. Today I wanted to talk about the Money in the Bank briefcase. So recently, of course, at Survivor Series, Sheamus cashed in on Roman Reigns after he had just won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to then become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So Money in the Bank has been a staple in WWE for about a decade now. I want to say just about 10 years. And of course, it started out as this WrestleMania tradition where they had a ladder match, and then it got kind of big enough to become its own pay-per-view. So I'm kind of asking the question, should Money in the Bank be retired? Has it kind of run its course, and is it kind of just a detriment at this point? I mean, sure, we all get excited, when's he going to cash in, when's he going to cash in, but how many ways is there left to even do this? And is it tarnishing the championship? Because, when Money in the Bank first came out, of course, we had the brand split going on. So you had the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship. So it wasn't as bad when there was a cash-in from maybe like a mid-card guy or something like that. Maybe if he wasn't quite ready to be champion. Because you had two champions, it wasn't really as integral to it wasn't as big of a deal because you had two champions. So it wasn't like, oh, this is your champion, a guy who was just in the mid card, and all of a sudden now he's the top guy. We look at a guy like Sheamus. Sure, he's a past WWE champion, but now this was a guy who was recently just booked in kind of the lower mid card even as of late. And all of a sudden, overnight, he is the champion. It's not like he's the secondary champion on SmackDown or anything. No, he is the guy. Now, that kind of, it says, what does that say about your booking? And if you could slowly build a guy like Sheamus up, and then he cashes in, at least you can say, oh, he was getting back into that main event scene. But this was a guy who was in the lower mid-card, and now all of a sudden, he's just going to compete with all the main event guys. I think when Edge cashed in as the first Money in the Bank winner, it really kind of set the tone for everything. But they did a good job of building Edge to actually feel like he was a main event guy, even if the way he cashed in was very opportunistic and right after Cena had won an Elimination Chamber match. So, yeah, sure, it wasn't a fair match, but Edge had been built up enough that you could see him as a credible champion, where there's a lot of guys who have just kind of cashed in and it may not feel like they even deserved it at the time, which, sure, like you can even look at like CM Punk when he cashed in for the World Heavyweight Championship. Sure, we all know CM Punk's great, but he hadn't really been built up to that championship level. It seemed like it was very early for him to win it. So, yeah, that's one negative aspect that Money in the Bank has. And the excitement level, we've seen it so many times. Like I said, there's only so many ways to do it. And since Seth Rollins has cashed in at WrestleMania, that was kind of one of the final things that we had to see was a WrestleMania cash-in. And if I was to say, as far as Money in the Bank goes, there's maybe one more story to tell with that, and that would be a guy kind of running up against the clock. The only Money in the Bank story I feel like we have yet to see is a guy who he wins it at Money in the Bank, and I think it's in July, so let's go with that. June or July, somewhere around there. So they win it then. They go all the way through the entire calendar year to where they are coming close to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view again. So he only has so much time to cash in at this point. And then so you kind of create this suspense where maybe it even comes down to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I don't even know what would happen if the guy who, if they have until the end of that night to cash in, so you technically could have two Money in the Bank winners if the guy doesn't cash in before the next Money in the Bank ladder match even happens. So I feel like that's kind of like the last interesting story that they could do with Money in the Bank. Other than that, it's really kind of, whoever wins it is pretty much guaranteed to get the title. Of course, we've had Sandow and John Cena as the only people to ever fail. But Sheamus was another person people thought would fail, but of course every single other person has always won when they've cashed in. And granted, Sheamus could have ended up being in the plans to lose, and circumstances with Seth Rollins getting injured prevented that from happening. But nevertheless, it's gotten to the point where it is quite predictable that they are going to win at some point. And a lot of people even called the cash-in happening at this past Survivor Series. So, kind of bottom line, what I wanted to say is, should Money in the Bank be retired? Has it run its course? Is there anything else left to kind of tell with this? Is it still, is it detrimental to the championships to kind of have a guy who is kind of squabbling in the mid-card all of a sudden shoots up to be the champion? Have things changed since now that there is only one championship? So let me know what you guys think. I think maybe one more Money in the Bank, in my personal opinion. Like I said, that one story left to tell. Other than that, I think it's time to maybe let it rest, at least temporarily, just kind of retire it for a couple years, and then maybe you bring it back again. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Should Money in the Bank be retired? What do you like about it? Is there anything left to see? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.